The old records of Qing Mao Mountain would later mark this mid-year examination for more than wild boar teeth. Fang Yuan had already pushed his strength beyond his former limits and uncovered the secret behind Old Man Wang's 3 red circles. Wang Da was alive, a rank 2 demonic Gu master, and burning for revenge. While Fang Yuan quietly calculated a path of escape, Wang Da had already poisoned and slain the Gu masters guarding him, clearing the road for a deadly encounter. Well, I leave the wine jar unattended for one evening, and somehow the pavilion is full of familiar faces again. Come in, fellow daoists. Shake the mountain dust from your robes, but keep one hand near your sword tonight. Our young Fang Yuan went hunting for boars, and somehow returned with a demonic cultivator, hunting him instead. Such is life in the jianghu. Sometimes you find treasure, and sometimes the treasure comes with an assassin. By mid-June, Fang Yuan had reached a dangerous threshold. Night after night, he hunted mountain boars beneath the moon, feeding the white boar Gu, and testing how far his growing strength could carry him. His true objective, however, lay beneath the mountain. A giant rock still sealed the passage toward the flower wine monk's strength inheritance, and until he could move it, that inheritance remained beyond his grasp. On this summer night, beside a creek cutting through the green mountain, a wounded mountain boar charged him again. Its body was covered in deep injuries, blood painting a red trail behind it. Yet a dying beast could be more dangerous than a healthy one. With its life nearly spent, every remaining scrap of strength had become desperation. Fang Yuan met the charge without panic. 500 years of experience allowed part of his attention to remain fixed upon the boar, while another part watched the darkness around them. He had already learned that blood could invite more than one enemy. Wild boars, wolves, and even a wandering tiger had disrupted his hunts before. One careless moment could cost him far more than tonight's prey. The boar attacked again and again, but its movements gradually weakened. Fang Yuan waited until that decline became undeniable, then stepped forward instead of retreating. He seized the beast, gathered the strength in his shoulders and arms, and forced its heavy body upward. His face reddened from the strain as the mountain boar rose above his head. It struggled feebly, but Fang Yuan had already committed every ounce of strength. With one violent exertion, he hurled it toward a large rock beside the river. The boar struck hard. Bones broke beneath the impact, and after several final struggles, the beast went still. The creek continued flowing as if nothing had happened, carrying thin streams of blood away into the darkness. Look closely at the difference between Fang Yuan's strength and his judgment. Being able to lift a mountain boar proved the white boar Gu was transforming his body, but Fang Yuan did not confuse that achievement with superiority over the beast itself. Raw strength was useful. Understanding its limits was what kept that strength from becoming arrogance. The result nevertheless pleased him. Not long ago, fighting a wild boar had required careful kiting and repeated moonblade attacks. Now he could physically lift one. The improvement was unmistakable, and it gave him a new thought. Perhaps tonight he could finally test the massive rock blocking the underground passage. Yet the white boar Gu had a fixed ceiling. It could grant no more than the strength of one boar. Fang Yuan understood another distinction as well. A man capable of carrying another strong man was not necessarily his equal in direct combat. The same principle applied here. His body was stronger, but that did not make a head-on clash with a mountain boar wise. He fed the pork to the white boar Gu, removed the boar's teeth with his hunting knife, and cut apart the already damaged hide, before returning to the hidden cave inside the rock fissure. He left the corpse where it was. Summer nights were filled with roaming beasts, and the scent of blood would soon bring scavengers to erase much of the evidence. Even if someone discovered the remains, Fang Yuan was unconcerned. He had deliberately altered the wounds, so they no longer resembled moonblade cuts. Inside the secret chamber bathed in red light, he threw the 2 fresh tusks into a corner. They struck the growing pile, already accumulated from his previous hunts. Then he entered the passageway once more. His footsteps echoed through the tunnel, the red illumination staining everything around him, until he reached the same obstacle that had stopped him before. The giant rock had not changed, neither had the narrow passage beyond it, still hidden from him. Fang Yuan planted both hands against the stone and pushed. His muscles tightened, his face flushed. He forced every bit of his newly gained strength into the attempt, yet the massive rock did not shift even an inch. His estimate quickly followed. If his present strength was enough to carry one boar, the stone seemed to weigh as much as 5 or 6. The result was disappointing, but clear. The flower wine monk's strength inheritance would not yield merely because Fang Yuan had made several weeks of progress. Consider the price attached to this obstacle. Fang Yuan could not simply force the inheritance open through impatience, and every day spent improving his body was also a day his classmates continued cultivating. The rock was not merely blocking a tunnel. It was forcing him to choose how to divide his most limited resource time. Rather than waste strength on another futile attempt, Fang Yuan withdrew to the chamber above. From a bamboo tube by the wall, he removed the beast skin map and several sheets of bamboo paper. He sat down and began the same task he had repeated every day, memorizing the map line by line, tracing its routes with his fingers until they settled into memory. He had no storage-type goo. Carrying the beast skin map everywhere would be dangerous, while taking a bamboo tube into battle would be inconvenient. So he chose the slower solution, placed the entire map inside his mind. Fang Yuan had lived long enough to understand that avoiding troublesome work rarely destroyed the problem. More often, it allowed the problem to return at the worst possible time. His young body's memory was excellent. More than half the map was already memorized, a fact that made him briefly remember another useful good. The bookworm. If he possessed one, he could feed the map to it, and permanently recall the information so long as the bookworm remained with him. The thought stirred a familiar greed. Fang Yuan already possessed the liquor worm and white boar goo, yet useful goo only made him desire more useful goo. Bookworms were rare rank 1 goo worms, comparable in value to the liquor worm and white boar goo, expensive whenever they appeared, and often purchased almost immediately. In his previous life, Fang Yuan had never obtained the liquor worm or white boar goo at this stage, but he had once acquired a bookworm. It later advanced through ranks alongside him, and remained with him for 60 years. Still, nostalgia did not cloud his judgment. Such a goo was too rare to expect soon, so he dismissed the desire, and returned his attention to what he already possessed. By comparison with his previous life, his present cultivation was already far better. At this same point before, he had still been rank 1 initial stage while Fang Zheng, Kai Cheng, and Mo Bei had reached upper stage. Now Fang Yuan stood at middle stage, and the others remained there as well. For a grade C talent to maintain the same cultivation speed as youths with grade A or grade B aptitude was no simple feat. The liquor worm had played an important role, but so had Fang Yuan's 5 centuries of cultivation experience. There was another factor as well, one created by Fang Yuan himself. His repeated extortion had pushed his classmates to strengthen their physical combat training under the guidance of their elders. Without realizing it, they had spent time learning how to deal with Fang Yuan that might otherwise have gone toward nurturing their apertures. Their cultivation progress was therefore slightly slower than it had been in his previous life. Do not overlook the irony. Fang Yuan's pressure had not merely taken primeval stones from the other students. It had changed how they allocated their effort. They were becoming better at fighting because of him, yet the time spent correcting that weakness also delayed their cultivation. One advantage had been exchanged for another, and Fang Yuan was quietly benefiting from the trade. That advantage would not last forever. Fang Zheng, Mo Bei, and Kai Cheng were already closing in on rank 1 upper stage. Their aptitude, family backing, and steady cultivation were beginning to reveal their natural superiority. The lead Fang Yuan had gained through the liquor worm was shrinking, made smaller still, because he had recently devoted so much time to hunting and strengthening his body with the white boar goo. The first student to reach upper stage would receive 30 primeval stones. Fang Yuan knew that abandoning the white boar goo and concentrating entirely on cultivation might give him a chance to compete for that reward. He refused to do so. 30 primeval stones were useful, but Fang Yuan did not currently lack primeval stones. More importantly, chasing first place would attract attention. His priority was concealment, remaining sufficiently low profile that he could continue pursuing the flower wine monk's strength inheritance without drawing unnecessary scrutiny. Put yourself in his position. He could trade secrecy for a short-term reward, and perhaps stand above his classmates for a moment, or surrender that small victory to protect access to an inheritance worth far more. To the other students, 30 primeval stones represented success. To Fang Yuan, competing for them risked revealing that his real ambitions lay somewhere the academy could not see. In Fang Yuan's eyes, the academy's rewards were carrots designed to direct the students' desire and bind their progress to the clan system. Such incentives could motivate young Gu Master, but he saw little wisdom in struggling for every small prize simply because the family placed it before them. He returned to the beast skin map. It contained 2 sides of information, one for daytime and one for night, covered in straight and curved lines of different colors. Each mark had meaning. Old Man Wang had known all of them, but he was already dead, and Fang Yuan doubted that forcing him to speak would ever have guaranteed the truth anyway. Over many days, Fang Yuan had compared the map against the bamboo records and used his own experience to decipher almost everything. One symbol had become especially clear. A red cross marked danger, a forbidden zone. One such region appeared to be surrounded by wild boars, suggesting that a wild boar king occupied the area. With his present strength, encountering a wild boar king would almost certainly mean death. That realization brought Old Man Wang back into Fang Yuan's thoughts. The bamboo paper had omitted this forbidden area entirely. Had Fang Yuan trusted that incomplete record and wandered there carelessly, the old man's revenge might have been completed by the fangs of the wild boar king, without him ever lifting a hand. Notice what made the trap effective. Old Man Wang did not need enough strength to kill Fang Yuan himself. He only needed Fang Yuan to possess less information than the mountain did. When knowledge decides which path is safe, and which path leads toward a beast king, a missing mark can be as lethal as an ambush. Yet one mystery remained unresolved. 3 locations on the beast skin map had been marked not with red crosses, but with red circles. They were widely separated from one another, isolated, and surrounded by relatively few beasts. Unlike the Forbidden Zone, these places appeared comparatively safe. Fang Yuan studied them in silence. Red was normally used to demand attention. If Old Man Wang had deliberately marked these 3 distant areas with circles, then they almost certainly held some importance, but what kind remained unclear. Their distance prevented Fang Yuan from simply visiting them now and discovering the answer for himself. Keep those 3 red circles in mind. Fang Yuan had uncovered the meaning of danger, exposed the deception hidden in Old Man Wang's records, and still found himself facing symbols that did not fit the pattern. The map was becoming clearer, yet the final unanswered marks were precisely the ones that could not be tested easily, and until their meaning was known, part of the mountain remained outside even Fang Yuan's calculations. By the end of June, the academy had produced its first upper stage breakthrough, and it was not Fang Yuan. Under the burning summer heat of Qing Mao Mountain, Gu Yufangzheng rose from his seat and walked before the academy elder, while every gaze in the room followed him. For a young man who had spent so long beneath his elder brother's shadow, this reward carried more than primeval stones. It was proof that, at least once, he had reached the finish line first.
Fang Zheng, you are the first to advance to upper stage. This is your reward. Good job. Continue working hard.
The academy elder smiled and patted Fang Zheng on the shoulder before handing him a heavy bag of primeval stones. Fang Zheng accepted it with barely restrained excitement. In his heart, only one thought mattered. He had finally surpassed his brother. Once was enough to prove it could happen. Now he wanted a second victory, and then a third. Yet when Fang Zheng looked toward the person he most wanted to witness his triumph, Fang Yuan was sprawled across his desk, fast asleep. The reason was simple. The previous night, Fang Yuan had killed another wild boar, returned to the hostel, used the white boar goo to strengthen his body, drawn natural essence from primeval stones, refined his primeval essence through the liquor worm, and then nourished his aperture with upper stage primeval essence until morning. He had barely eaten breakfast before rushing to class and collapsing into sleep. His path was consuming time, primeval stones, physical strength, and rest alike. He was converting everything available to him into cultivation. Look closely at the contrast. Fang Zheng's achievement is public, rewarded by the academy, and witnessed by every classmate. Fang Yuan's progress is being forged in secret through hunted wild boars, the white boar goo, the liquor worm, and sleepless cultivation. One brother has gained recognition. The other is paying an invisible price for strength that the classroom cannot fully measure. Fang Zheng clenched his fist. Fang Yuan's sleep did nothing to lessen the meaning of this victory. For once, the darkness that had long pressed against Fang Zheng's heart seemed to split open. The opening was narrow, but light had entered. Hope followed with it, and for someone who had lived under comparison for so long, that hope was enough to change how he looked at himself. Across the classroom, not everyone welcomed Fang Zheng's success. Gu Yumobei sat with his arms crossed, anger simmering beneath his silence. He had lost the race to upper stage. Gu Yukai Cheng's expression was even darker. The longer he cultivated, the more clearly he understood the advantage carried by superior aptitude. Even with Gu Yukai Lion's support and his own relentless effort, Fang Zheng's grade talent had still pulled ahead. Kai Cheng's resentment deepened when he thought of the Fang brothers. Fang Zheng possessed a grade talent. Fang Yuan, despite being only C-grade, possessed the liquor worm. Kai Cheng could not help imagining how different the race might have been if that goo worm had belonged to him instead, combined with his grandfather's support.
Fang Zheng really was the first to reach upper stage. Of course, he has a grade talent. Even Mo Bei, Kai Cheng, and Fang Yuan lost to him this time. Fang Zheng has everyone's attention now. Fang Yuan has the liquor worm and still wastes his days sleeping in class. He might as well give it to me.
Envy, frustration, admiration, and helplessness moved through the classroom in equal measure. One by one, the students were called forward to receive their primeval stone allowance. Only after the final bag had been distributed did the academy elder strike the table and silence the room.
Everyone, quiet. By now, all of you have mastered your second goo worm, and some have already advanced to upper stage. You have spent half a year building your foundations. Now it is time to leave the safety of wooden puppets and scarecrows behind. True combat does not stand still and wait for you to attack.
The students immediately understood what those words meant. Their lessons were about to leave the academy grounds. 3 days later, every student would take part in the mid-year examination, and this year's test would send them into the wilds.
Your examination will be to hunt wild boars. Your results will be measured by the number of wild boar teeth you collect. The more teeth you bring back, the better your score. When the examination ends, every wild boar tooth may also be exchanged for 10 primeval stones. You are permitted to hunt in groups.
The classroom erupted. Some students brightened immediately. Others began worrying before the elder had even finished speaking. The mid-year examination came every just as the end-of-year examination did, but the subject was not fixed. This time, instead of some safer form of gathering, they would be facing wild boars.
My aptitude is only D grade, and my vital goo is not an attack-type goo like the moonlight goo. How am I supposed to hunt wild boars? Didn't you hear Himmel can form groups? Those with unsuitable goo worms can cooperate with those who can fight. When we obtain the teeth, we can divide them among ourselves.
Another detail caused even greater excitement. 10 primeval stones for a single wild boar tooth was an astonishing academy reward. At normal market value, one primeval stone could purchase roughly 20 such teeth. The academy was not paying according to the worth of the material. It was paying students to risk themselves, hunt aggressively, and gain real experience. Amid the noise, even Fang Yuan stirred with interest. Not because hunting wild boars troubled him. He had already been doing exactly that, but because the examination itself was wrong. In his previous life, the examination at this point had required the students to collect wildlife honey. Now it had become a hunt for wild boar teeth. That discrepancy led Fang Yuan to the same unsettling concept. The butterfly effect, a tiny change at the beginning, could produce an entirely different result later. Since his rebirth, Fang Yuan had already altered far more than one insignificant detail. In his previous life, Fang Zheng and the others had left him behind early. In this life, Fang Yuan had remained firmly among the strongest students. There were even larger differences. In his previous life, Fang Yuan had never killed Jia Jinsheng. The two had not even met. In this life, Jia Jinsheng was dead by Fang Yuan's hand, and Fang Yuan had excavated deeper into the flower wine monk's inheritance than before. The examination changing from honey to wild boar teeth might be only the first visible sign that history was beginning to drift away from the path he remembered. Do not overlook what Fang Yuan stands to lose here. His rebirth gives him knowledge of a future that others cannot see, but every action he takes can alter that same future. The more effectively he changes his circumstances, the less reliable his old memories may become. His greatest informational advantage carries within it the possibility of slowly destroying itself. For a moment, urgency pressed against Fang Yuan's thoughts. If history continued changing until it became unrecognizable, the advantage of rebirth could shrink dramatically. Yet he dismissed the fear almost as quickly as it came. The changes had already happened. There was no path back to the untouched future of his previous life. His answer was to adapt rather than retreat. In his previous life, he had possessed no knowledge of the future at all, yet he had still continued forward. He saw no reason to become timid simply because his advantage might weaken. Even if the road ahead filled with thorns, Fang Yuan intended to carve out his own path, rather than slow his cultivation out of fear. Then his attention returned to something far more immediate, the examination reward. 10 primeval stones for every wild boar tooth was extraordinarily generous, and Fang Yuan already had a stockpile of wild boar fangs hidden at the cave. For an instant, selling all of them seemed attractive. The haul could bring him a little more than 100 primeval stones. But Fang Yuan rejected the idea. Publicly producing such a large number of teeth could attract suspicion, and given the Gu Yu clan's political situation, suspicion was a price far heavier than 100 primeval stones. The reward was tempting, but not enough to justify exposing irregularities around himself. Then another possibility appeared. The primeval stones themselves were not the most valuable part of this change. Fang Yuan realized that the altered examination could help him rebuild something less tangible and far more politically useful, his image within the clan. Until now, Fang Yuan had positioned himself against his classmates and outside the normal structure around him. To the clan's higher-ups, he could easily appear untamable and unhappy resentful, intelligent, cold teenager with C-grade aptitude, who refused to fit comfortably into the system. That image had protected him during earlier circumstances, but it came with a growing danger. A clan did not merely value talent. It demanded loyalty. Loyalty to one's clan, country, leader, loved ones, or companions was valued by organizations everywhere. And the stronger Fang Yuan became, the more attention the clan's higher-ups would give him. If they concluded that his strength was growing, while his loyalty remained uncertain, they could eventually resort to harsher methods. That would place Fang Yuan in exactly the position he despised, reacting to someone else's decisions. Put yourself inside that calculation. Remaining openly independent preserves Fang Yuan's freedom, but the stronger he becomes, the more threatening that independence may appear to the clan. Pretending to accept the system could reduce suspicion, yet genuine submission would place restrictions around the secrets and freedom he needs for his own cultivation. Neither path is free. The question is not whether to pay a price, but which price gives him greater control. Control mattered deeply to Fang Yuan. Earlier events had often forced him to move according to outside pressure, borrowing circumstances and external strength simply to protect himself. But now that he possessed greater ability to defend his own interests, continuing to wear the same hostile image would no longer be useful. He needed that image to change. The change, however, had to be believable. If Fang Yuan abruptly transformed from a rebellious outsider into an obedient clansman, the shift itself would become suspicious. He needed the higher-ups to gradually conclude that he had abandoned his resistance and accepted a place inside the clan system. In reality, that acceptance would be nothing more than a facade. Fang Yuan had no intention of surrendering his freedom, allowing himself to be manipulated, or truly binding himself to the system. He carried too many secrets for that. Beneath whatever image he presented, he would continue operating as a loner. And now, the unexpected mid-year examination had given him an opening. While the other students were thinking about hunting groups, wild boar teeth, rankings, and primeval stones, Fang Yuan was already considering how to use the same event to alter the clan's judgment of him. His gaze sharpened as the pieces settled into place. The first move of that plan would begin with the extortion he had already established, and this time, Fang Yuan intended to make even that serve a larger purpose. A single report had forced the Academy elder to reconsider Fang Yuan. During the latest round of extortion, Fang Yuan had defeated Fang Zhen, Kai Cheng, and Mo Bei, yet he had taken none of their primeval stones. For a youth who had repeatedly challenged the Academy's expectations, restraint was almost more difficult to explain than aggression.
You said that during Fang Yuan's extortion this time, although he defeated Fang Zheng, Kai Cheng, and Mo Bei, he let them go without taking their primeval stones.
The guard remained kneeling before him. The Academy elder had been watching this matter closely, because Fang Zheng's 30 primeval stones were not merely wealth, they were an Academy reward. If Fang Yuan could simply seize them afterward, the institution's entire system of incentives would become meaningless.
I would not dare lie to Lord Elder. It is exactly as I reported.
The elder had already been prepared to punish Fang Yuan if he crossed that boundary. Instead, Fang Yuan had spared Fang Zheng's reward, and had even abandoned the chance to extort Mo Bei and Kai Cheng.
I understand. You may go.
Your subordinate takes his leave.
Once the guard departed, the Academy elder fell into thought. Fang Yuan possessed hundreds of primeval stones, so ignoring another 30 could be explained. But Mo Bei, Kai Cheng, and Fang Zheng were different. Each stood behind one of the clan's major factions. Look closely at the elder's conclusion. Fang Yuan's restraint could be read in two entirely different ways. Either he had chosen his targets with calculation, or he was finally yielding to the clan's authority. The elder possessed only Fang Yuan's outward actions, so his judgment depended on what he believed a 15-year-old C-grade talent could realistically endure. In the elder's eyes, the meaning became clear. By sparing representatives of all three factions, Fang Yuan seemed to be lowering his head to the clan. His recent cultivation might have been aided by the liquor worm, but C-grade aptitude still imposed a hard limitation. Perhaps, after several bursts of defiance, the boy was finally beginning to accept reality. The clan leader's earlier words now seemed sensible to him. Fang Yuan was only 15. How long could a youth truly resist an entire clan systemons? He accepted the position his aptitude allowed him. The elder believed he would naturally merge back into the clan. With that thought, the academy elder finally relaxed. 3 days passed, and the mid-year examination arrived.
Faster exclamation, I've lured the wild boar out.
A youngster tore through the forest with 2 pale green rings of wind spinning around his legs. The goo gave him speed beyond what most youths could manage, yet the wild boar behind him was still closing the distance. Sunlight flashed across its tusks as it charged.
The boar is coming! Exclamation, hold the rope tight.
4 students concealed in the bushes pulled at once. A rope snapped taut across the path. The baiting student leapt cleanly over it and continued running, but the pursuing boar struck the trap at full speed. Its legs tangled, and the beast crashed forward for 5 or 6 meters, dragging the 4 ambushers off their feet with the force of the impact.
Strike!
The students scrambled upright and surrounded the animal. Yet a wild boar was nothing like a wooden puppet. It thrashed with enough strength to snap a young tree in half, sending its crown crashing down beside them.
That was close. If I hadn't used the dragon pill cricket goo to jump 3 meters left, that tree would have been me.
Moonblades cut through the air, striking the boar and leaving long, shallow wounds. Guyu Mo Bei's eyes shone with excitement as the battle consumed his attention. The students could not overwhelm the beast instantly. Instead, they wore it down wound by wound, until blood loss finally brought it to the ground half an hour later.
Fighting a living creature really is different from practicing against wooden and grass puppets. It took us 30 minutes just to kill 1 wild boar. I wonder how everyone else is doing.
On a hidden hill nearby, a temporary tent stood beneath the punishing sun. The academy elder occupied the main seat, surrounded by several clan elders. Other Gu masters waited behind them, while still more remained concealed throughout the forest. A disturbance passed through the trees. A Gu master emerged like a shadow, rushed toward the tent, and dropped to one knee.
How is the situation?
Reporting to Lord Elder. There have been no student casualties so far.
The result immediately pleased the watching elders. An entire afternoon had already passed since the examination began. For these students, most of whom were facing real beasts for the first time, having no casualties was unusually good.
Not a single injury after an entire afternoon. That is different from previous years. It seems we have the academy elder to thank.
The academy elder merely shook his head. He knew the real reason. Fang Yuan's repeated extortion had forced his classmates to train their basic martial skills far harder than before. Pressure born from humiliation had become practical survival experience. Do not overlook the irony. The academy had worried that Fang Yuan's behavior would disrupt its order, yet that same pressure had driven the students to become better prepared for a dangerous examination. His actions remained troublesome to the clan, but their immediate consequence had strengthened the very youths he preyed upon.
Then who currently has the best result?
Reporting to Lord Elder. Guyu Fang Yuan, Fang Zheng, Mo Bei, and Kai Cheng are leading. Kai Cheng has killed 3 boars. Fang Zheng and Mo Bei have each killed 5. Fang Yuan has the highest total, with 8.
The numbers stirred discussion beneath the tent. A C-grade talent suppressing both A and B-grade talents was rare enough to draw attention, but the elders quickly connected Fang Yuan's performance to the liquor worm and the upper stage green copper primeval essence it gave him access to.
So Fang Yuan is actually leading. It is rare to see an B-grade talent suppressed by a C-grade talent. He possesses the liquor worm, so he can use upper stage, green copper, primeval essence. With that advantage, this result is understandable. But Fang Zheng, Mo Bei, and Kai Cheng should eventually surpass him. The liquor worm cannot change the difference in primeval essence recovery between C-grade aptitude and are all B-grade aptitude.
The Academy elder accepted the report, but his priority remained the students' safety. Dozens of rank 2 Gu masters were hidden across the examination grounds, while several rank 3 clan elders remained near the tent, in case an unforeseen danger appeared.
You may go. Tell the others to concentrate on protection. Pay particular attention to Fang Zheng, Kai Cheng, and Mo Bei. Make certain they remain safe.
Yes, Lord Elder.
The sun gradually sank from its highest point toward the northeastern mountains. Sunset burned across the clouds, and beneath that fading light, another wild boar collapsed before Fang Yuan. He counted silently, 23. Then he crouched and skillfully carved out the boar's tusks. A bag on his back was already heavy with trophies. Yet Fang Yuan possessed another advantage that none of the examiners could see. A second bag, filled with tusks from boars he had killed earlier, had been taken from the rock-cracked secret cave the previous night and buried elsewhere for safekeeping. He knew the terrain, he knew where the wild boars gather, and with upper stage primeval essence supporting both the moonlight Gu and the little light Gu, his hunting efficiency was far beyond that of the other students. Even the bag already on his back was enough to secure first place. Remember the difference between what the elders see and what Fang Yuan knows. They are comparing aptitude, primeval essence recovery, and the liquor worm. Fang Yuan is competing with terrain knowledge, preparation, hidden reserves, and experience they cannot measure. Their calculation is reasonable, but it is missing several variables. With the examination nearly over, Fang Yuan prepared to retrieve the second bag. The beast skin map had already been memorized in his mind. From his current position, turning left and following the stream for 15 minutes would bring him to the place where he had buried it. But just as he was about to move, he stopped. His current position was only 500 or 600 meters from the nearest red circle marked on the beast skin map. The map contained 3 such red circles. They had clearly been important to Old Man Wang, yet their meaning was the one part Fang Yuan still had not deciphered. With first place already effectively secured and time remaining, curiosity now competed with caution. Consider the price attached to this choice. Returning for the hidden tusks would protect a victory Fang Yuan had already secured. Investigating the red circle offered no guaranteed reward and risked drawing attention from the Gu masters, secretly supervising the forest. Yet rare opportunities are difficult to investigate once they disappear. For Fang Yuan, certainty had value, but so did information. The thought took hold. Since his lead was already sufficient, Fang Yuan decided to investigate. He also understood that the hidden Gu masters made careless movement dangerous, so he acted as though he were merely continuing his hunt and traveled deeper into the forest. 7 minutes later, he reached the marked area. Concealed among thick bushes and built high upon a massive tree, stood a treehouse so well hidden that an inattentive passerby could easily miss it. Fang Yuan frowned. Perhaps this had merely been Old Man Wang's temporary residence while hunting. But if that were all, why had the location been marked so deliberately on the map? He climbed into the treehouse. The moment he saw what was inside, Fang Yuan's expression changed. The examination had brought him here by chance, but whatever Old Man Wang had hidden at this marked location was important enough to make even Fang Yuan stop and reassess what he was seeing. Fang Yuan had entered a cramped treehouse expecting another clue from Old Man Wang's beast-skin map. Instead, he found unmistakable signs that someone was living there in secret. Whoever occupied this place had not chosen it by accident, and Fang Yuan had already stepped directly into that person's hidden ground. The room was small and crowded with possessions. A thick, dark yellow carpet covered the center of the floor. Against one wall stood an iron stove with a bronze kettle resting above black soot, while a small pile of dry firewood waited nearby. Even in summer, Qing Mao Mountain turned bitterly cold at night, making that little stove enough to keep the treehouse warm. 2 sets of windows opened to the fading sunlight. Ropes stretched between them, holding patched adult clothing that was still slightly damp. Fang Yuan needed to determine who had been staying here, because the answer might decide whether this hidden residence was merely suspicious, or whether an enemy was already hunting him. In one corner lay axes and hunting knives, their handles wrapped in beast skin. Dark red traces remained upon the blades. On another wall hung a sheet of bamboo paper, and a dagger had been driven straight through its center. The face drawn on that paper belonged to Fang Yuan. Look closely at the difference. A hidden dwelling alone could mean a fugitive, a hunter, or some wandering cultivator. But Fang Yuan's portrait pierced by a blade erased that uncertainty. Whoever lived here possessed both secrecy and unmistakable hostility, turning an abandoned-looking shelter into evidence of a personal threat. Even Fang Yuan was taken aback. His thoughts moved rapidly. Perhaps the hatred was aimed at him. Yet another possibility immediately surfaced. Fang Zheng. Fang Zheng possessed A-grade talent, the only such talent to appear in the Gu Yu clan during the previous 3 years. To the clan, he represented more than a promising youth. If successfully nurtured, he could become one of its future pillars. But talent was only the beginning. Raising a genius required time, resources, and protection. Natural calamities were dangerous enough, yet human schemes were often worse. Qing Mao Mountain did not belong to the Gu Yu clan alone. The Bai clan and Qing clan also stood upon this mountain, and neither would gladly watch a rival nurture another great expert. Assassinating a promising talent before he matured was hardly unimaginable. A-grade Gu masters had appeared before, including within the Gu Yu clan. Yet among the 3 clans on Qing Mao Mountain in recent years, only one A-grade talent had truly grown into a powerful cultivator, the Bai clans by Ning Bing, already at rank 3. Notice the information Fang Yuan was weighing. If Fang Zheng were the target, the motive was obvious: destroy the Gu Yu clan's future before that future could mature. Yet the portrait showed Fang Yuan's face, and Old Man Wang's own map had led directly to this residence. The political explanation was possible, but the personal evidence pointed somewhere else. Fang Yuan frowned at the portrait. If the Bai clan or Qing clan wanted Fang Zheng dead, why would Old Man Wang's beast-skin map mark this treehouse as the old hunter secretly connected to another faction? That possibility did not fit cleanly either. The hatred displayed here felt aimed directly at Fang Yuan. His memory returned to the first strange piece of the puzzle, a conversation among 4 hunters near a trap.
Second brother Wang, you're almost 19. It's time you married and had children.
Oh Xianxia, how can a true man spend his life chasing such small pleasures? One day, I'll leave Qing Mao Mountain, roam the world, see all that lies beyond it, and live a life worthy of being a man.
At the time, Wang Er's ambition had merely sounded unusual for a mortal hunter. Fang Yuan now remembered something more important. When conflict came, Wang Er had remained remarkably calm before a Gu master. He had even drawn his bow and aimed it at Fang Yuan, while the others were already pleading for mercy. Then came another memory: Fang Yuan's interrogation, after taking control of the situation.
Tell me, who else belongs to Old Man Wang's family?
Hunter Wang once had a wife, but wild wolves entered the village and killed her decades ago. Before she died, she bore him 2 sons and a daughter. His eldest son, Wang Da, disappeared while hunting on the mountain 3 years ago. There's no one else in the Wang family.
Another hunter had hurried to add something he remembered.
I remember exclamation Old Man Wang also had a daughter-in-law Wang Da's wife. After Wang Da disappeared, she died of a broken heart. The village even erected a chastity memorial arch for her. But there were rumors that she wanted to remarry, and Old Man Wang hounded her until she died. When you killed Old Man Wang, Lord, you were helping us ordinary people. You removed an evil man and brought peace.
The first hunter had eagerly agreed, revealing still more about the old man's habits.
That's right. We never liked Old Wang. He only hunted a little better than us, yet acted as though he were above everyone. He even moved away from the village to live by himself. When younger hunters asked him to teach us, he chased us away and forbade us from coming near his wooden house again.
Inside the hidden treehouse, those old statements stopped looking like unrelated village gossip. Old Man Wang had moved his family away from other people. Wang Da had supposedly died on the mountain 3 years earlier. Wang Da's wife had wanted to remarry, only to die under suspicious circumstances. Young hunters were forbidden from approaching the family home. Keep those details together, instead of judging them separately. One strange death could be misfortune. One secretive old hunter could simply be antisocial. One unusually fearless younger brother could be stubborn. But when every oddity protects the same family secret, coincidence becomes increasingly difficult to accept. There was more. Old Man Wang had desperately tried to hide his beast-skin map. The bamboo paper copy he gave Fang Yuan omitted several circles. Wang although young, showed little instinctive fear toward Gu masters, refused to marry, and openly dreamed of surpassing mortal lot. Most telling of all were those circles marked upon the beast-skin map. Each indicated a concealed region where there were signs of human activity. And now, inside one such hidden location, Fang Yuan had found the belongings of an adult man, and a portrait revealing intense hatred toward himself. The scattered pieces finally began fitting together. Sunset streamed through the window and cast a blood-colored glow across Fang Yuan's face. The treehouse had gone completely silent. For a moment, the possibility arose that someone might have been observing him from the shadows all along. Then understanding broke through the last layer of uncertainty. Wang Da had never died. And not only was Wang Da alive, Fang Yuan concluded that, through some fortunate encounter, he had become a demonic Gu master. Mortals were not necessarily born without cultivation talent. The clan simply guarded cultivation methods fiercely and prevented them from spreading. Yet nothing in this world was absolute. A mortal wandering through the wilderness might encounter a hope Gu and awaken an aperture. He might discover an inheritance, obtain what remained on a dead Gu master's body, or receive private instruction from someone connected to a clan. Such outsiders were rarely accepted as true clan members. At best, they might become subordinates. Without the protection and steady resources of a clan, cultivation became far harsher. Competition for survival could eventually force these lone Gu masters into theft, killing, and plunder, pushing many toward the demonic path. The important contrast is this. Fang Zheng's strength was being nurtured openly by an entire clan, while a man like Wang Da would have been forced to cultivate beyond that system, hiding both his identity and his resources. One possessed institutional protection. The other survived through secrecy, and secrecy itself explained much of the Wang family's strange behavior. Fang Yuan reconstructed what had most likely happened. 3 years ago, Wang Da had probably encountered some fortunate opportunity, perhaps wealth or Gu worms left behind by a dead Gu master, and awakened as a Gu master. To conceal the truth, the family spread the story that he had died while hunting. Conveniently, no corpse had ever been seen. Once the family learned what Wang Da had become, they moved away from the village and accepted the danger of living near wild beasts rather than risk exposing him. but Wang Da's wife appeared to have resisted. Fang Yuan suspected she might have wanted to reveal the secret to the Gu Yu clan. If that deduction was correct, the Wang family had silenced her. Afterwards, rumors about remarriage, heartbreak, suicide, and even the chastity memorial arch obscured the actual cause of her death, beneath several competing stories. From time to time, Wang Da must have returned home. That explained why Old Man Wang drove curious young hunters away whenever they approached seeking instruction. Their presence risked exposing the son he was hiding. Wang Er's behavior also made more sense. Through contact with an elder brother who had become a Gu master, his fear of cultivators had faded. More importantly, he had seen that mortal life was not necessarily his limit. His ambition to leave Qing Mao Mountain and enter the greater world was no longer an empty boast born from ignorance. Wang remaining unmarried even as he grew older could also have served the family's need for secrecy, and the 3 red circles on Old Man Wang's beastskin map now acquired a completely different meaning. They were most likely concealed residences like this treehouse, allowing Wang Da to rotate between hiding places along the fringes of territory controlled by the 3 clans. Do not overlook what those circles now represented. To Fang Yuan, they had first been marks promising useful locations on a valuable hunter's map. To Old Man Wang, they may have marked the shelters keeping his eldest son alive. Fang Yuan had believed he was stealing information. Without knowing it, he may have been stripping away the defenses around a hidden Gu master. That also explained why Old Man Wang refused to reproduce those circles on the bamboo paper copy. He had been protecting Wang Da. The red markings were not merely warnings. They pointed toward his eldest son's residences. In the same way, Fang Yuan now believed the old hunter had deliberately drawn fewer red crosses, concealing information, as one final act connected to his son. The remaining sequence became clear in Fang Yuan's mind. At some point, Wang Da had returned to the family home and discovered that everyone was dead. After investigating what had happened, he learned Fang Yuan was responsible. That was why Fang Yuan's portrait now hung in this treehouse, with a dagger driven through it. Wang Da intended revenge. With the experience of his previous life, Fang Yuan considered this reconstruction almost certainly correct. If a rival clan merely wished to assassinate Fang Zheng, there were far subtler methods available. There would have been little reason to cultivate a spy like Old Man Wang, especially when the old hunter lived outside Gu Yu village at the foot of the mountain. The irony amused Fang Yuan. He had pursued a beastskin map, killed several mortals to obtain it, and somehow provoked a demonic Gu master seeking vengeance. He gave a quiet snicker at the strange workings of the world. Yet regret never entered his heart. He had killed Wang Old Man Wang, and Wang's daughter because he wanted the beastskin map. At the time, their mortal lives carried little weight in his calculation, compared with obtaining the information he needed. Now, knowing Wang Da existed, Fang Yuan actually felt more certain that his ruthlessness had benefited him. Had he shown mercy, the surviving Wang family members would have become obstacles. Because they were protecting Wang Da's secret, they would never willingly have handed over the genuine map. Wang himself possessed enough combat ability to kill an ordinary rank, 1 upper stage Gu master. Old Man Wang had even greater hunting experience, making him potentially more dangerous than his younger son in a lethal confrontation. Even if Fang Yuan had somehow obtained the authentic map without killing them, Old Man Wang could simply have warned Wang Da. Then Wang Da would have learned Fang Yuan's identity and movements, while remaining concealed himself. Fang Yuan would have stood in the light, while the enemy watched from darkness. Consider the price attached to those 2 possibilities. Mercy might have spared 3 mortals, but it could also have preserved Wang Da's intelligence network, and given the hidden Gu master an immediate advantage. Fang Yuan's chosen path was cruel, yet from his own survival-first reasoning, removing the family had denied Wang Da information and forced his revenge to begin from uncertainty. Fang Yuan preferred exactly that outcome, regardless of whether he obtained every genuine detail from the map. He wanted the situation inside his own grasp. If one source failed, he could still seize information from other hunters. More importantly, by killing Old Man Wang and the others immediately, he had forced Wang Da to spend precious time investigating what had happened. His deduction continued. The two young hunters who had known pieces of the Wang family's circumstances were probably already dead. Wang Da could silence them without drawing much attention. Hunters disappearing in the mountains could easily be blamed on beasts, accidents, or misfortune. Jianghu, however, was different. Fang Yuan believed Wang Da would avoid killing him. If Jianghu died, the Guyu clan would investigate because of his position, and Jianghu himself had reasons to conceal the earlier incident, since exposing it could damage the clan's evaluation of him. From the audience's position, one fact changes the entire situation. Fang Yuan is no longer dealing with a dead hunter's family. He has uncovered a living demonic Gu master with a reason to seek revenge. Yet that enemy has also been deprived of much of the information his family could have provided. Neither side possesses complete knowledge, and in a struggle fought from the shadows, information may matter as much as cultivation. Thus the three red circles, the vanished eldest son, the dead daughter-in-law, Wang Er's unusual courage, Old Man Wang's secrecy, and the dagger through Fang Yuan's portrait all converged upon one conclusion. Wang Da was alive. He had entered the world of Gu masters. And now, somewhere beyond that quiet treehouse, Fang Yuan had an enemy who wanted his blood, but who had already lost the family that once protected his secret. Inside the treehouse, Fang Yuan's thoughts moved with ruthless speed. Somewhere beyond the safety of the village, Wang Da was still alive, still carrying the hatred of a murdered family, and very likely waiting for a chance to strike. Fang Yuan's immediate goal was no longer hunting or examination scores. It was survival. If his judgment of Wang Da's strength was wrong, the mid-year exam could become the place where his path ended. Fang Yuan had never personally seen Wang Da fight, but 500 years of experience had taught him that information could reveal almost as much as a battlefield. Wang Da had investigated him and still dared to pursue revenge. That confidence alone suggested cultivation beyond rank 1. For 3 years, Wang Da had moved through the 3 red-circled regions, on the fringes of the 3 clan villages, constantly risking discovery and extermination. Yet he had not truly roamed beyond that territory, something Fang Yuan judged would require rank 3 cultivation. The most reasonable conclusion was clear. Wang Da was a rank 2 Gu master, and Fang Yuan's present battle strength was not enough to defeat him head-on. Look closely at the difference. Fang Yuan possesses no investigative Gu worm, yet Wang Da's confidence, territory, survival record, and limitations are already becoming pieces of a cultivation profile. One man is hiding his strength, the other is turning behavior itself into evidence, because a single mistaken assumption could cost him his life. 3 years of cultivation also gave Fang Yuan another clue. If Wang Da had advanced to rank 2 within that period, Fang Yuan estimated his aptitude was probably grade B or grade C, placing his aperture somewhere around 40 to 70% primeval essence capacity. There was more. Wang Da had survived for years, and had even managed to remain around his home, despite Jianghu's observation. To Fang Yuan, that strongly suggested the use of a stealth-type Gu worm. Information could decide a Gu master's battle before the first attack was launched. Without seeing his enemy, and without investigative Gu, Fang Yuan had still reconstructed a highly plausible image a rank 2 demonic faction Gu master, hardened by 3 years of danger, carrying a stealth method, and waiting somewhere in Qing Mao Mountain for the man he blamed for his family's deaths. Fang Yuan merely laughed. His attitude was brutally consistent. If he could kill others, then others naturally had the right to kill him. Murder created the possibility of retaliation, and he had accepted that price long before Wang Da appeared. Anyone in this world had the right to live, and anyone could die. Those who killed had to be prepared to be killed in return. If Fang Yuan truly died because of the path he had chosen, then he would die without regret. Such resolve was, to him, part of the demonic way. His attention returned to the coming exam. Normally, academy students remained inside the village. A rank 2 outsider attempting to infiltrate the settlement would be courting death. But during the mid-year examination, Fang Yuan would leave that protection behind. Wang Da might have guessed Fang Yuan would eventually hunt outside the village, but Qing Mao Mountain was vast. Searching alone while remaining hidden would be painfully inefficient. The examination, however, gathered Fang Yuan into a known region at a known time. For a hunter seeking revenge, it was the best opportunity he was likely to receive. Fang Yuan compared their strength without deceiving himself. Wang Da was a rank 2 Gu master who had spent 3 years surviving on the edge of clan territory, constantly threatened by discovery. A demonic cultivator shaped under such pressure would not be an inexperienced opponent. Fang Yuan knew plainly that he was not Wang Da's match. So he made his decision immediately. Escape. Consider the price attached to that choice. Fang Yuan could preserve pride by confronting a stronger enemy, but pride would not bridge an entire cultivation realm. Retreat might look disgraceful, yet survival preserves every Gu worm, every resource, and every future opportunity he has accumulated. To him, abandoning a hopeless battle is not cowardice. It is refusing to trade a long-term ambition for a moment of vanity. A sudden breakthrough in the middle of battle was almost unheard of. Fighting across realms was possible only when special Gu worms or exceptional methods compensated for the difference. Fang Yuan owned several Gu worms, but none solved the present problem. The spring-autumn cicada remained dormant. The liquor worm, white boar Gu, little light Gu, and moonlight Gu were not trump cards capable of overturning the gap. Knowing an enemy was overwhelmingly stronger and still choosing to fight to the death was, in Fang Yuan's eyes, nothing more than foolish hot-bloodedness. Even with hidden cards, he had always preferred control. If the chance of victory was too small, he avoided combat. His favored battles were battles whose outcomes had already been pushed as far towards certainty as possible. He would seize resources from the weak, strengthen himself without shame, surpass those who threatened him, and only then crush them when the balance had turned decisively in his favor. To Fang Yuan, there was nothing noble about risking one's life merely to prove courage. Organizations praised sacrifice because sacrifice protected the interests of those organizations, especially those already holding power. The more individuals a system needed to sacrifice, the more loudly it tended to praise that virtue. Survival, in his view, was the prerequisite for every ambition. Dying for one's aspirations might sound glorious, but enduring humiliation and continuing forward required a different kind of resolve. He remembered figures from Earth, Hanzin enduring the humiliation of crawling between another man's legs, Cao Cao fleeing so desperately that he cut his beard and tore his robe, and Yu Wang accepting extreme degradation to preserve his life and purpose. Honor and reputation could be discarded. What mattered was remaining alive long enough to accomplish the ambition within one's heart. Whether one agrees with Fang Yuan or not, his logic leaves no room for comforting illusions. To him, dignity is expendable, while survival is capital. With that settled, Fang Yuan turned to the practical question. which direction offered the smallest chance of encountering Wang Da. Map of Qing Mao Mountain unfolded in his memory. Wang Da already knew Fang Yuan possessed the beast skin map. If he was searching the forest, he would most likely watch the regions marked with wild boar distributions, because those were the obvious places Fang Yuan might hunt. Remember this detail. The map that once helped Fang Yuan locate prey could now help Wang Da predict his movements. A useful piece of information had become a liability, so Fang Yuan's best chance was not to use the map more cleverly, but to reject the obvious route entirely. He could not approach those hunting grounds. Instead, he would move in the reverse direction, deliberately choosing a route his pursuer was less likely to expect. The path forming in his mind was dangerous enough to seem almost insane, but against a stronger hunter, predictability was the greater danger. Under the fading sunset, overlapping tree shadows swallowed the mountain forest, while wild grass covered the ground. Deep inside those shadows, a pair of bloodshot eyes burned with hatred that 3 years had failed to extinguish.
Fang Yuan, I've finally found you.
Not far away, a thin, pale-faced youth moved through the forest. Wang Da had finally found the enemy he had been hunting, yet he did not rush forward. His gaze shifted instead toward several concealed positions around Fang Yuan. The clan had prepared carefully for the examination. To prevent cheating and provide immediate treatment for injuries, several dozen Rank 2 Gu masters were hidden throughout the surrounding region. Rank 3 clan elders were stationed on the higher mountains as an additional safeguard. Wang Da had already moved through the forest gathering information. 3 nearby Gu masters stood directly between him and his revenge. If he attacked Fang Yuan first, those invigilators would interfere, and even if surprise allowed him to kill his target, the pursuing Gu masters could kill him moments later. His cultivation was Rank 2 middle state, with 50% primeval essence available. Eliminating 3 Gu masters before they could alert one another would be difficult, but hesitation would only make the task worse. He needed consecutive kills within an extremely short window. Notice the tactical imbalance. Fang Yuan is trying to survive by avoiding the hunter, while Wang Da is forced to spend primeval essence killing the very people meant to protect Fang Yuan. Revenge demands speed, secrecy, and resources all at once. Every invigilator Wang Da removes brings him closer to his target, but also leaves him less strength for the final attack. Wang Da closed his eyes and activated the shadow follower Gu. Darkness gathered around his body, and his form slipped into the shadows between the trees until the forest seemed to swallow him. Inside a thick bush, a Rank 2 Gu master of the Guyu clan lay hidden, bored by the uneventful duty of watching younger students.
So boring. Following these juniors around makes me feel like a nanny.
He never noticed the shadow creeping closer. From within the darkness, 2 bony hands emerged. They were unnaturally pale, with thick joints and long, sharp nails stained dark purple. A faint, fishy odor drifted through the air.
What is that smell?
The moment he frowned and tried to investigate, Wang Da struck. He lunged from the shadow like a snake. One hand sealed the Gu master's mouth and nose, while the other drove into his back. The dark purple nails pierced through with frightening ease and reached the heart. Poison entered the heart immediately and spread through the bloodstream. The Gu master's body stiffened, then went still. Both men were Rank 2, yet the fight had ended before it could truly begin because Wang Da had prepared the ambush and seized the first strike. The attack had consumed 10% of Wang Da's primeval essence. 40% remained. Without lingering, he merged into the shadows again. A short while later, the second Gu master, concealed behind a rock, suffered the same fate. His pupils contracted as he collapsed. Poison spread rapidly through his body, turning his complexion purple, as 2 thin streams of purple blood ran from his nose. Wang Da checked himself again. 30% primeval essence remained. 2 obstacles were gone. One still stood between him and Fang Yuan. The third Gu master was hidden on a branch high in a great tree. This time, Wang Da's approach was not perfect. At the critical instant, the Gu master sensed danger, spun around, and caught both of Wang Da's poisonous hands before they could reach a fatal point.
Who is it?
Diamond.
Wang Da's 10 nails lengthened violently until each reached roughly 5 centimeters. They stabbed into the Gu master's forearm and pierced the skin. Blood welled out, then almost immediately darkened to purple. Recognition struck the Gu master as the poison reached his face. It was the love-life separation Gu. He had no poison-resistance Gu worm. Death was already certain. Put yourself in his position. He cannot cleanse the poison and cannot escape the result, so survival is no longer one of his available choices. The only decision left is whether his death buys nothing, or whether he can wound the assassin badly enough to protect the students still below. Resolve hardened across the dying Gu master's face.
Then let us die together.
He opened his mouth and extended his tongue. A crescent moon mark rested upon it, the moonlight Gu. A moonblade burst forth at close range, cutting through Wang Da's right shoulder and tearing out through his back. Blood scattered through the branches. Wang Da grunted and swayed from the blow, but his opponent had already reached the end of his life. Only the last trace of vitality remained.
Correct. This is love-life separation.
Wang Da slowly straightened on the branch, a bitter smile on his face. Love-life separation was considered the #1 poison among rank 2 Gu worms. Refining it required rank 1 life breath grass, a widow spider, a red needle scorpion, and the heart of a lover. To obtain that final ingredient, Wang Da had killed his own wife, the woman who loved him deeply, and removed her heart. Do not overlook what this reveals about the man now hunting Fang Yuan. Wang Da condemns Fang Yuan for taking his family, yet his own pursuit of survival and strength had already demanded the destruction of the person closest to him. His revenge has not preserved what he loved. It has consumed almost everything that remained.
It was all for survival. I could only choose strength. This is the resolve of my demonic path.
His eyes, red with exhaustion and hatred, fixed once more on the pale youth moving through the forest below. Love was already gone from his life. In Wang Da's mind, only kinship had remained, and Fang Yuan had taken even that from him.
Fang Yuan, I want you to regret everything you have done.
3 rank 2 guards had now been removed, but Wang Da had paid for the path with primeval essence and a serious shoulder wound. Fang Yuan was still moving through the forest, unaware of how close the blade of revenge had already come. The balance was narrowing from both directions. Fang Yuan was betting everything on avoiding the obvious path, while Wang Da had sacrificed blood, strength, and what remained of his humanity for a single chance to reach him.